I just bought a $67 MacBook Pro off of eBay, and the seller actually sent it to the wrong address, but thankfully my neighbors at least knew who I was. So anyway, let's open it up and see exactly what I got. It wouldn't be the first time that a seller has sent something to the wrong house number, and I don't think this was in any way malicious, just a genuine mistake. Oh, and it actually looks to be well packaged. Oh boy, they were not kidding when they said the charging brick was yellowed. Does anyone want some cheese? The sheer abundance of bubble wrap is appreciated as we are actually in the process of moving out. And compared to laptops I've been sent with literally no packaging, this is a welcome sight. It's definitely a little worn, but not filthy. And I can't believe this is a 14-year-old device. This design is pretty timeless. And with the charger plugged in, let's see if it still works, shall we? There's a boot chime and an image with this weird text. Turns out it's running the DOS Dude Catalina patcher. The 2.8 GHz Core 2 Duo model also features an Nvidia 9600M discrete graphics processor. And there's also a near new battery, which has also been installed, which is honestly really nice to see. Overall, a seemingly decent laptop for the money. So my partner and I are going to be living in an old caravan while we build a house. The regular table I film on is probably too big, but this dual motor standing desk sent over by FlexiSpot should be ideal. It came packaged very securely. The first box contains the maple chipboard top. I prefer a light colored desk surface. Next up is the E7 desk frame. Once assembled, it'll hold up to 355 pounds, which is around 160 kilograms. And honestly, given how solid and heavy it is, I'm not surprised. Assembly was quick and the included instructions were easy to follow. I chose to use a drill, and to not over tighten the bolts, I finished them off by hand. Each side of the desk has a beefy electric motor, giving it a hefty lifting capacity. If your floor isn't entirely level, the feet on the base can be adjusted. This 55 by 28 inch desk paired with the E7 frame is ideal for me, but if you need a smaller or a larger desk, FlexiSpot has you covered. And just like magic, the desk is at whatever height you want it. I found it pretty useful that you can program specific heights and it'll go to them with a simple click of a button. Whatever I had set up on the desk felt super stable, and it's surprising just how quiet it is when in motion. Don't just get a desk for work, get one that fits your lifestyle. With a 15-year warranty, you can rest assured that a FlexiSpot desk will keep up with you, both standing and sitting. Click the link below to choose a FlexiSpot standing desk or ergonomic chair that's right for you. With multiple sizes and finishes to choose from, there's one to suit your needs. Use my code NATE30 to save $30 on purchases over $500. With our new table in place, let's crack into the MacBook and see what's inside. All you need is a small Phillips head bit. And if you do lose any of them, they're super cheap to get replacements for online. The first thing I noticed was a bit of gunk. I don't actually think it's rust. Oh, and it's definitely suffered a bit of a drop to the screen hinge, but everything else looks fine and it's not all that dusty or dirty. The replacement battery in here is also one of the best you can buy, costing well over $100 on its own. The first thing to take out is the battery. With only 31 cycles, it's practically new. If you're ever buying a replacement, be sure that it's the correct one for your MacBook model. The 2009 and 2010 15-inch batteries are different from the 2011 and 2012 ones. Oh, and it looks like this trackpad has also been replaced. I've never come across these logos on an untouched MacBook before. Come to think of it, I think this is the first 2009 model 15-inch I've ever taken apart. And the first fan is from iFixit? So even the fan is a replacement part. And how about the other one? I'm pretty sure this is original, although once again it has an extra sticker. The RAM does appear to be original, surprisingly, and I'll be putting in 8GB. Before pulling the logic board out, be sure to dislodge all the connectors. The keyboard and trackpad ones are hiding under this small metal cover, definitely don't forget about those. To keep track of the many screws, I'd recommend drawing the board and marking their locations. That way you're less likely to forget about any or leave any in by accident. With all the screws removed, even the two holding the power connector in place, the board can lift up. Try not to snag it on any of the connectors as you lift it up, but it looks like someone may have already done just that. For some reason there's a drive connector just randomly in here. Honestly, it's not too bad on the other side. I have seen much dustier. At this point, you may also notice 3 processor dies. This is because there is no integrated Intel HD graphics. There's 2 Nvidia GPUs, one lower power 9400M which uses the available DDR3 Ram, and the high performance 9600M with its own GDDR3 memory. And as time has shown, this cooling setup isn't exactly going to run at decent temperatures. For many MacBook generations, they simply ran hot due to insufficient cooling. Temperatures upwards of 90 degrees under load were pretty common. We'll give this Mac a fighting chance with some fresh paste. The stuff on here is very dry and flaky, and I'm not 100% sure this paste is original given how much has been changed in this Mac. Either way, the stuff in here is no good anymore. I must admit, it is very satisfying to remove the old stuff, especially when it comes off in large chunks. I then dusted off the components. I also brushed them off outside for a complete clean. The casing itself wasn't too bad, and perhaps the original owner did do this at some point. The small amount of gunk in here might have come from a spill, however there is no signs of damage to the mainboard thankfully. Isopropyl alcohol had no effect, but a small dab of eucalyptus oil worked wonders. I made sure to go along the gunk-filled edges which were filled with gunk. This stuff wedges itself in there over time, and I prefer not to think about what it actually might be. High airflow spots will naturally clog over time, so be sure to brush out the vents if possible. Once again, a small dab of eucalyptus oil worked great at removing small bits of debris stuck to the casing. Now for the controversial part of the video, applying new thermal paste. Since we're putting it straight onto the dies that don't have a heat spreader, a generous amount is ideal. With the heatsink on, it will be squeezed over the entire surface. Aligning it with the screw holes is also important as to not wipe the paste off accidentally. I'm leaving the optical drive in here as it can be pretty useful to have. Same with the SSD it came with, it's a decent enough boot drive for such an old MacBook. The real test is whether the new RAM will work. It's slightly faster than the original stuff, but that isn't usually a problem provided the integrated Nvidia graphics chip doesn't get angry. The display panel is in pretty good shape, definitely a bit cleaner after an application of lens cleaner. Eucalyptus oil worked pretty well at removing the remaining grime from the casing. If you ever do sell your own laptop, at the very least, do the buyer a favor and wipe the keyboard off. Unlike me, most people don't want to actually clean electronics. So we are getting 3 beeps on startup, a RAM related error code. I tried many combinations of RAM and it turns out that this MacBook must have at least one slower stick. So we'll have to settle for 6GB of RAM in total for now. All of my other RAM is actually boxed up and not here anymore. So the MacBook seems to be working fine. Although you seem to have to switch to the discrete graphics on your own, it didn't do it automatically in games. It's now time to see just what this 14-year-old Core 2 Duo Mac can do. Taking advantage of Optifine, the latest version of Minecraft is totally playable. At lower resolutions, it'll perform even better. Simple games such as old school RuneScape also work completely fine. Taking a trip back to Lumbridge always brings back great memories. Simple modern games are also very much playable on here. Polybridge works fine. Once again, you could lower the settings to increase the frame rate, but as it is, it's totally fine. Terraria is a good example of a game that isn't very taxing on older systems, totally playable on here. When it comes to productivity, it's great for typing and Word documents. Apple really had excellent keyboards at the time. The solid trackpad also means you'll probably never reach for an external mouse. The old Core 2 Duo CPU is still able to play full HD YouTube videos. The screen is also great for such an old panel. I'll be honest though, using this as an actual laptop isn't amazing, as it is definitely chunky, but you do get an optical drive which can be useful for some people. Ethernet, an SD card reader and even Firewire are built right in, so no need for dongles. For 67 Australian dollars, which is about 42 US, it's a bargain. The fact that it has a new battery is a major win, and yes, the casing is pretty worn, but this thing just keeps going. Once again, thanks to FlexiSpot for making this possible. Use my code for a discount and links are below if you want to find out more. Old Core 2 Duo MacBook Pros like this are definitely starting to show their age, but for simple tasks these can be incredibly reliable and robust machines if taken care of. And if you'd like to pitch in and help out the channel, definitely consider becoming a channel member. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.